Hadeer Elsbai is an Egyptian-American writer and librarian. Born in New York City, she grew up being shuttled between Queens and Cairo. Hadeer studied history at Hunter College and later earned her master's degree in library science from Queens College, making her a CUMLI alum twice over. Hadeer, over to you. And if I mispronounced your name, please correct me.
No, you did great. Thank you. All right. So in the part I'm going to read, one of my main characters, Nahel, is chatting with her soon-to-be husband, Nico, but it is an arranged marriage, so they don't know each other very well. And so as they're chatting, they're getting to know each other a little better, and we, the readers, learn a little bit more about the world. Right. You read a lot, Nahel observed. She had noticed his collection of books at the Baldinodi estates, and noted, too, that he usually had a book on him at all times. Nico looked up. I like reading. He paused. Do you read much? Can't say that I do, Nahel said. She did not even read the Vanguard cover to cover. Reading in general, she found to be dull, and rarely could Nahel sit long enough to read at length. She tried to read books on weaving in failed attempts to teach herself more advanced techniques. She didn't want to learn weaving from dusty papers anyway. She wanted a proper instructor, someone who could assess her stances and her technique. You know the curriculum at the academy will involve reading, yes? I know how to read, Nahel raised an eyebrow. I'm not an idiot. Nico blushed. I wasn't implying. He cleared his throat. And what is it you plan to do after you graduate? I can't imagine your family would be happy to see you join the circus. Nahel scoffed. I'm joining the army. Nico blanched. And your parents are all right with that? It doesn't matter what they're all right with anymore, does it? Given I'm a married woman and all. What did her parents expect her to do about her water weaving anyway? Pretend it didn't exist when shocks of her emotions were liable to disturb any liquid in the vicinity? Was Nahel meant to ignore the immense power she held at her fingertips when it was the only power that truly belonged to her? How could she pretend away her weaving when it set her apart and above so many others? How could she simply tuck it away when she could achieve so much power that she might literally turn the tide of battles? It's not just the border skirmishes with Lirac, said Nico seriously. What if we end up at war with Zorana? Then you'd have to fight in actual battles. Then I'll fight in battles, said Nahel. At least I'd be doing something useful. You wouldn't be afraid? Nahel smirked. I'm not afraid of anything. You should be, said Nico grimly. War isn't all glory and honor. It's messy and bloody. Again, I'd like to remind you that I am not an idiot, said Nahel. You don't need to patronize me. I'm not. Nico began to protest, then sighed. Besides, isn't that ambassador here to prevent a war? Asked Nahel. What's his name? Naji something? Naji Uzani. Nico shrugged. That's not a guarantee of anything, though. Zorana's king is volatile, and he's furious about the reopening of the academy. Reports say he's raised taxes twice in the past year, and the revenue's gone directly to the military. Why would he do that if he didn't intend on war? Nahel knew only vaguely of King Hali of Zorana. She recalled reading something in the Vanguard about his draconian policies on weaving. Weavers in Zorana were second-class citizens, and actual weaving was punishable by death. I don't know what he thinks he's going to achieve, said Nahel. It's not as though weavers are going to just disappear. Well, he certainly wants to eradicate them, replied Nico. On some level, I understand his fear, but you understand? Interrupted Nahel. Nico was quiet for a long moment. Do you know much about the Talyani disaster? I know enough. Stories of Edua, the destroyer, had followed Nahel around as a small child on school playgrounds, the cruel taunts of other children indistinguishable from their fear. Edua Bedawi, a prodigy, and strange anomaly, a weaver with control over all four elements, and immensely powerful. Somehow, she had sunk an entire peninsula and nearly all of the people living on it, decisively ending a war between Ramsawa and Talyana that had dragged on for decades. I've read survivors' reports of what happened, said Nico quietly. Weaving at that level, it's terrifying. Volcanic eruptions, sinkholes, waves high enough to block out the sun. What does that have to do with Zorana? Asked Nahel slowly. He looked intently at her. A glare of sunlight glinted off his spectacles. They lost landmass too, and people. Their coastline used to be much closer to the Tolyani Peninsula. Nahel shrugged uncomfortably. Edua Bedoui was an exception. She's the only weaver in existence to hold that kind of power. That we know of. You can't punish all weavers because of the actions of a single deranged woman, argued Nahel. That's not what I'm saying, protested Nico. Weavers should be trained and they should be taught to control their abilities, especially when they're so tied to emotional states. If King Holly's goal were to prevent more death, he would see that, but he's only reacting to his fears. I'm merely saying I understand his motivation. I'm not justifying it. And Edua Bedoui wasn't deranged. She was purposely turned into a weapon of mass destruction. He hesitated. We don't know if she intended to destroy Talyana like she did. Nahel whistled. That's a controversial statement, especially coming from a Talyani. Nahel could easily believe it, though. How often had she lost control over even a small argument? If the rumors about Edua Bedoui were true, the magnitude of her powers was enormous, practically godlike. What might a temper tantrum of hers look like? Nico quirked his lips. I'm far more of a Ramsawi now. I've never even seen Talyana, or what's left of it. I can't speak the language. I know hardly anything about it except what I can glean from history books. Still, you don't hear anyone defending Edua Bedoui. Nico looked thoughtful. I don't know if I'm defending her, but she's an interesting figure. So much about her is shrouded in mystery. I don't know that we'll ever truly know what she was thinking when she did what she did. They fell into a silence that felt far more companionable than earlier ones, and Nahel tried once again to broach the topic of Nico's mistress. She couldn't help it. She was desperately curious. So, what do you plan to do about your... Nahel scowled. Can you at least tell me her name? No, said Nico shortly. And if anything changes, I assure you that you, as my wife, will be the first to know. With that, Nico hid his face behind his newspaper, and the silence grew tense once more. And that's it. If you like that, please do enter the giveaway. I'll be giving away one hardcover copy to one lucky winner. And thank you.